Welcome back, my fellow weird kit bash enjoyers, for another episode of the Exodites. First off, I'd like to apologize for pushing this video off as much as I have. While the project was stated up front to take times between entries, I hadn't meant on delaying this sort of update video this long. Given how much expansion the channel has recently had, I can't say it was all for naught, but still, I should try to do you guys justice. So this entry of the Exodite build diary is a bit different than others in the series so far. To really get into why, we have to get into the base of the drama, and the base of the drama is one very angry monster. Contrary to popular belief, being mauled by a giant monster does in fact kill people. So today we'll be using the services of my new intern, Paw Trisha, to help capture footage in Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate using her ability to burrow underground like a little worm. And with that, let's get into it. Let me introduce you to the Celtis Queen. The Celtis Queen is a massive Neopteron, essentially a lumbering insectoid monster that could easily be mistaken for a very upset piece of construction equipment. Its armor-like shell and massive limbs immediately demonstrate this creature's raw power at a glance. First introduced in Monster Hunter 4 on the 3DS, her front limbs form two shield-like appendages to guard her face, while her four larger legs are strong enough to deflect devastating blows and even burrow underneath rock and soil. Her massive tail, easily longer than her entire body, swings a deadly pair of pincers that can crush stone into dust. Additionally, the Celtis Queen can use water stored in her body as an emergency projectile, either as a glob of water or sometimes even a compressed jet. While I'm not normally the type to immediately sexualize women, the Celtis Queen does in fact derive a lot of her identity from the quirks of sexual dimorphism. Her male counterpart, the Celtis, is a much smaller bug capable of flight, which is usually not a very big threat on his own. Many a low-rank hunter are contracted to take care of a lone Celtis and return victorious. Yet the presence of a Celtis Queen can escalate the matter into a business only a top hunter should handle. When a Celtis Queen has chosen a Celtis to mate with, they may travel together within her territory with many other Celtici orbiting loosely in the area. When a Celtis Queen feels threatened, they've been observed wielding the Celtis as a weapon of sorts. She quote-unquote combines with the Celtis, mounting him on her back to perform tandem attacks. While this behavior has been seen in monsters in the series so far, no other monster in the Neopteron category has been seen performing this behavior, and even then the behavior is usually contained to just fighting alongside a mate or a pair, not the, Voltron shit. Sadly for the Celtis, when his queen has mated with him or has generally outlived his usefulness, the Celtis Queen has been seen performing an unnaturally brutal method of sexual cannibalism. The queen grabs the Celtis and slams him on the ground violently until incapacitated, then devours him. She may then spread strong pheromones to attract one of the many nearby Celtises to keep on call as a new retainer of sorts. So given that she's the focus of the video, you assume the Celtis Queen is what I'm adding to the Exodite army, correct? Well, no, actually. The Celtis and her queen are known to inhabit temperate areas in mountainous or forested terrain, making her unsuitable for my desert inhabiting Eldar. As you can see from most of the footage here, this is also a fairly, grassy, wet area, which is kind of the exact opposite of a desert, if you haven't noticed. However, we are in luck as the Monster Hunter series has many different classifications for monster variations. What was once initially a pretty blatant recolor system in the early games to expand upon the small roster with, remixed monster behaviors and attacks, the in-lore reason for this has been fleshed out over the years. At some point in history, Mr. and Mrs. Celtis had migrated into the desert areas, adapting to the harsher climate. This subspecies eventually adapted a olive tan shell color over the lustrous green the main species is known for, now being known simply as Desert Celtis and Desert Celtis Queen. I know, very imaginative names, really rubbing the brain cell together on that one, guys. While there are many classifications for these variations, as stated, in my opinion, there's a little overlap, it's kind of dumb, but there are variants, deviants, rare species, and a whole lot of others. Subspecies usually refer to regional variants, although that's not a concrete rule either. Most importantly, the presence of a Desert Celtis Queen allows me to add one of my favorite monsters to my army while still being lore friendly to both my army and the Monster Hunter series. So what will the Queen's duties be in my army? Well, the Eldar have historically had very good mechanized units like bikes and tanks, and to me, the signature tank, and well, I guess not just to me, just in general, the signature tank is none other than the Fire Prism. She walks like one, she's armored like one, and she's surprisingly agile for being an angry mobile home, so I'd be more than joyed to have her as my army's premier tank. Given her habit of sticking shit that wants to kill you on top of her head, it makes sense to kind of, put a weapons platform up there. Plus, due to her general shape, if I change my mind down the line, I can pivot and use her as a falcon instead to help transport troops up the field. I probably won't, but it's nice to have the option. So, I've kept you waiting this long. It's time for the big reveal. Yeah, so let me explain what you're looking at. Previously, with my Baroth Warwalker, it worked out that the figures from the Figure Builder series worked as a mostly size-appropriate model I could utilize. However, in the Figure Builder series, each monster is scaled down to the same hexagonal base, and not proportionally to one another. That means that what would be a massive hulking beast is actually like 5 times smaller than it should be. It looks kind of silly. To make matters even worse, there is one Celtis Queen figure on the market right now, and they want $140 for it. 140 US dollary dues. You're crazy, and crazy problems need crazy solutions. I had managed to find an account on DeviantArt that had uploaded the raw exported files for Celtis Queen straight out of Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate and hatched a delightfully devilish idea. I repair the files, make the manifold, then 3D print them myself. This was a decent idea until I realized something. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm not a 3D artist or sculptor at all. My skill pretty much boils down to very, very simple reductions on surfaces and kind of placing parts together in Mesh Mixer. That's it. All of my attempts at auto-repairing these files didn't really work out, to say the least. With my recent bout on Fiverr for the Shattered Legions video, I thought, well, hey, I might be able to find someone to fix these for me. So I cracked open Fiverr and I started browsing. I found a guy in India who will be left unnamed for good reasons. Talking to him about what I wanted, he got started on the job and he delivered this to me. I was speechless, to say the least. What was a small job to repair some files turned to his attempt to resculpt the entire Celtis Queen from scratch. And he did, questionably. Now, I don't want to shit on someone who can do something better than I can. Like, I can't... If you put a ball into Blender, I can't sculpt that into anything. But how do you get this from this? You know? Not only was this just simply not what I paid for, the detail on literally every portion of the body was factually, objectively wrong. I was just so stunned by the final delivery, and he was so proud of it. And I kind of just wanted to be done with it, so I paid the man his money and never looked back. Now guess how much I paid him? $60 goddamn dollars. I was not pleased. With probably one of the worst purchases I've ever made under my belt, and nothing to show for it except a funny JPEG to show you guys, I said, all right, John, to hell with India. I'll find somebody else. So, the second Indian guy worked out way better. But this fellow ran a specific service that was highly rated for preparing 3D files and preparing them for 3D printing. And not only was it half as much as I paid for that abomination at the highest tier of service, but every file was 100% accurate to what I had sent him. I took the raw files from that export and reposed them in Blender with the bones. The bones were baked in. He took those repost files and fixed them up with not a single change in the sculpt or loss of quality. We were in business. With the files all fixed up, I began to 3D print them. This took a little while to find a good scale to print everything out at, and I printed like maybe like 2.5 entire queens before finding a size that matched the rough dimensions of a fire prism when mounted on a 6-inch base. And I know vehicle bases, but I mean, it's kind of an exception on this one. Actually, I'm still trying to decide if I hate vehicles on bases. I'm not sure. I'll get back to that one day. But anyways, the plan was to use these prints as an armature for sculpting, mainly for two reasons. One, because my plan initially was to make one from scratch in the first place, and early attempts at that were, well, let's not talk about that. And two, I genuinely don't know how to manipulate a 3D sculpt. Like I said, I can probably take like text off of a flat surface, and that's about it. If I could print the queen's 3D pieces, I could simultaneously smooth out the polygonal bits that I couldn't do in software and add the portions of the mini that were faked by the textures, most notably the spiked crest running down the middle of her torso. All of this headache is culminating to the biggest challenge of this entire build. The plan is to recast this mini when I'm done sculpting it. Right now, might have rearranged them on the little platform here. I've got every part of the Celtis Queen on screen except one set of legs, one middle leg, I guess, and one hind leg. The plan is to recast the legs to complete the set for one queen, tighten him up a little bit, then recast everything to have multiple queens. I want 2 Celtis Queen fire prisms in my army, the parts to build a third one if I ever need it, then a fourth one to send to my friend since this is his favorite monster. And I figured, you know what? Why not? So that is the whole story of why this Exodite series has been taking way longer for this next entry. As you can probably tell, it's been a bit of a behind-the-scenes roller coaster, and I gotta tell you, paying $60 for that stings. I'm really not the type to like wasting money, and calling that a waste of money is the most amount of kindness I can give to that transaction. Again, props to the guy for trying, but for my $60, yeah, that one hurt. Even with working on each individual piece at the same time, like I mix up one batch of milliput, or like half a batch of milliput, and I do all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, all pieces at the same time, essentially. It's been slow since I have to keep doing content for the steady stream of content that I do. Plus, after each sculpt cures, I have to do a round of cutting, measuring, adjusting, sanding. Maybe I break something and I gotta resculpt it. This would, no doubt, 100% be easier to do digitally, but I just haven't had the chance to teach myself those skills, so I'm making do with what I've got. It's something that I do want to learn one day, for a future idea that I have in mind, but right now it's just not in the cards. Plus, I want to show people that, you know, maybe if you're in the same situation like me, maybe not as big of a scale, but like, yeah, you could print a simple shape as an armature and then sculpt on top of it, you know. Or hell, just sculpt something better than what I did. This is ass. But yeah, just printing the armature really helps me personally with proportions, because if you look at my sculpts historically, I'm not good at that. Not at all. While it admittedly really stings my pride not quite being able to show a complete product, this is still a build diary series, and a work in progress video is, you know, pretty in line with that idea. While I still have a schedule lined up for the channel, do know that progress on this is still going. Despite everything, I've been managing to get at least 30 minutes of work on it a night for the last few weeks, with a few exceptions. Right now, a lot of the schedules for me and my friends don't really line up. So, you know, if something comes up, you know, I try to play a game or, you know, hang out with them over this. But even then, sometimes, like I've got a friend playing Final Fantasy 12 right now, and we're just kind of watching. And yeah, I can sculpt while doing that, you know, just like little things like that. Okay, sorry, back on script. Most importantly, I want to thank everyone who's been super patient with this series and with me, and has generally shown support for, I mean, it's kind of a stupid army idea, but, you know, it's my stupid idea, and I like that people like my stupid ideas. It's really cool to see, you know, occasionally, you know, people will some new person will find the series and they'll be like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever. And it's like, yeah, I kind of feel like it's the best thing ever too, you know, and it honestly reinforces my conviction on this in the long run. I will not give up on this army. But as I said initially, it's obviously taking some time. Hopefully, the dual fire prisms will not only add some major, like, anti-tank firepower to my army, but simultaneously help push it over the 500 point mark, but I'm not sure. I haven't really looked at the point values for 10th, and given that the chance of me actually playing a game is in the negatives right now, I don't think it's really a priority. I just want 2 giant tanky bug bitches. So, hopefully next time you see the queen here, I will be in the process of cloning her with recasting. If this somehow is the first episode of the Eldar Monster Hunter Exodites build diary that you've seen, I've got a whole playlist to go check out the other ones, including, you know, some very good armor sculpts in my opinion, so go check it out. But until then, yeah, thanks guys for being around, and I'll see you in the next one.